On the first day of summer vacation, 2011, Ben cheated death for a second time. Allie sensed a presence at her bedroom door. She opened her eyes to see the silhouette of Grant Hamill standing in the doorway. "Allie, I think Ben's having a seizure." Grant maintained his composure, but Allie could sense the nerves behind his voice. Before Grant could offer a word of explanation, Allie was out of bed and bounding into Ben's room. She hastily peeled back the covers draped over her brother to assess his physical condition. "Allie, stop it! I'm freezing!" Allie shot a curious glance at Ben, wondering how he could be cold on a Texas summer morning. Ben had startled himself awake with his own shivering that morning, almost 3 hours earlier. The cold was paralyzing. He couldn't even bring himself to reach a few feet over and nudge Grant awake. He was shivering violently now, so much so that he couldn't get a word out without stuttering through his chattering teeth. His skin wasn't radiating its normal summer glow, and his fingers were icy blue to his knuckles. "He's not having a seizure because he's conscious," Allie said to Grant, trying to remain calm. "Stay right here with Ben while I go get my parents." "Allie, I'm fine," Ben protested. "Ben, you are not fine," Allie replied. She kept calm, but her mind was racing. She ran up the stairs to her parents' bedroom, softly cracking the door open. "Mom? Dad? Ben's shivering really badly. He's not having a seizure, but I don't know what's wrong with him." Without a word, both of Allie's parents threw back their covers and made their way down the stairs. Once they reached Ben at his bedside, they were beside themselves. None of them could explain Ben's violent shivering. "What's going on, Ben?" Sean asked. He worried that Ben might be experiencing some sort of heart failure. Deanne was equally distraught. "Ben, what's wrong?" she asked as she pulled the comforter back to put her head to his chest so she could hear his heart. "I'm fine. I'm fine," Ben said through his shivers. He reached for the comforter, pulling it up again. "Put it back on, please." When Deanne laid her head on his chest, she discovered that Ben's heart was beating regularly, but she was nonetheless shocked. Ben was ice cold. She also noticed that his fingers were blue. Ben pulled the blankets back up around his chin. Amid all the fuss, Ben wanted only not to be bothered and not to have his blankets pulled away from him. Sean dialed 911 while Grant called his mother, an anesthesiologist. Grant woke his mother with a phone call, briefly explained the situation at hand, and answered a series of questions before his mom could draw a conclusion. "She says that usually people's body temperatures drop really low before they're about to get a really high fever. She says y'all should probably take him to the hospital if he's about to get a fever that high." Knowing from previous experience that an ambulance would take forever to find their house out in the hills, Sean and Deanne walked Ben out to the car with Grant and Allie in tow. Grant said a quick goodbye, then reluctantly drove home to wait for the diagnosis. Sean and the others drove off to rendezvous with the ambulance on the main road. About 10 minutes down the winding pavement, with Ben still shivering beneath his sweats and a sleeping bag, they heard the ambulance's siren. Sean pulled over to the side of the road and Deanne scrambled around to the back seat to assist Ben into the ambulance. Sean and Allie followed them to the hospital, praying all the while that Ben's condition wouldn't worsen on the way. Ben was disgusted to be going back to the hospital again. Though he never complained, his misery and frustration seemed almost palpable. Due to his constant heart arrhythmia, paired with a case of tonsillitis, Ben had already missed several crucial weeks of classes preceding finals at school. His throat ached so badly that his mom couldn't even bribe him to eat with Taco Bell. By the end of the week, Ben had already lost 7 pounds. At 5'8" and a slight 137 pounds, that was weight he couldn't afford to lose. Although a veteran at playing catch-up, Ben had really challenged himself by declining his teacher's offers to let him